This year. Whew, yeah, am I right? This year I had to go home and rethink my life. And apparently, so did the people who made the three games I'm talking about, because the build systems are getting up to some crazy stuff. I certainly played some games whose build systems I really enjoyed this year, and I want to tell you about them. First up is Inscryption, the reason I made this video. This game was so good that I decided to commit a YouTube and make a list video about games that I liked. My list is just about build making, design, and systems that I liked, but the same difference. It's basically a Game of the Year video. Now, this one is hard, because I don't want to tell you anything about this game, but I want to get you to play it. Right now you're seeing not the main story, so don't worry about any story-related spoilers. But the gameplay, I mean, that's what I'm here to talk about, but I don't want to... They're connected a bit. Okay. If you are sick of stale card game design, this game will scrub the crust off of your brain cells. This game is a plan for you. You will do something cool, or you will die trying, probably many times over. Now, this game gets messed up. And again, I said I'm not going to spoil anything about the main game, but I think the interesting thing about this game is how connected those things are. This is a game that is uniquely prone to gameplay spoilers. I think that if you enjoy games that are often a little bit like a puzzle, a little bit, where you're meant to sort of crack the code of the game's build systems and figure out what types of combinations are powerful, what makes the game tick. You could say learning the metagame of a game, I suppose, as well. This game does a lot of that stuff, figuring out what is a more effective strategy in the weird framework of this bizarre game is really interesting. If you enjoy that, if you like coming to understand a new thing, this will make your brain cells do that. So yeah, the thing I'm showing you is this short session-based arcade sort of mode that you get after you beat the story part of the game. That's what you're seeing, and that's a really nice addition because while I enjoyed the main game, this is kind of meant to highlight, this is called Kaycee's mod, which isn't a separate thing, which I'm happy they included because it lets you dig into those game systems a little more rather than just breaking them and then you get past that story beat. I liked the main story, but I didn't think it was as compelling a build experience because it encouraged you to just get one good run, you know? This encourages you to really crack the game, to really bend it to your will, find out its secrets if that's a thing you enjoy. I'm trying to keep most of those hidden, but here's a little taste of that. I like to say what's special about these games. I guess it's how you're meant to rip apart and reassemble your cards into useful things. This game really encourages you to think like a game designer, really think about what every piece could be used for. And because the game revolves around that, because it revolves around using your cards in instrumental ways, figuring out their potential, this game is very heavily designed in such a way that each card does its own unique variety of things. It could be useful for its own things. You can see some cards have weird properties where that beehive gets hit, it produces a bee. It carries over any of the sigils that I have on the beehive. So you can possibly use it to generate more of those. You know, it's not there for one purpose. Most of the good pieces in this game are designed to do many different things at once, which is cool. It means that there's lots for you to dig into, there's lots to discover, and it is usually not too linear. I talk about making a build as the last little bit of game design. You, the player, get to kind of choose what you like or think will be cool and complete the game your own way. In this game, that's exceptionally direct. You have to have a bit of a vision for theoretical cards that will destroy the game, almost as if the game is still... This sounds bad when you say it this way, in playtesting, and you just have to figure out which cards are or effects are good, how cards are good in the game. Almost to think of it as every card is sort of bad, and you have to make good cards exist in the game to win, which I just think that's deeply interesting. If you don't like this game for its build systems, that will probably be why, because it doesn't really work if you don't do that last little bit of design. If you don't want to or can't comfortably think that way, this is maybe not the most relaxing experience from a mental perspective, at least not for me. But yeah, I think it's really cool, and I do think the story part of the game prior to this arcade mode guides you through that. I think it does a good job of that. I think you're in capable hands. So Inscryption will turn you into a glorious monster, as overpowered as the cards that you'll make in it. Okay, Nova Drift. So this one, it starts out normal. You hit go, and you begin a run and you've got no upgrades and you're going to kill enemies and get experience and accumulate upgrades. You've seen that before. It's the draft mode edition. So you got to see the main gameplay loop really quick for that to have some context. But I wish every game had this thing. So you see, I just got an upgrade point, and now I have a different weapon. You could choose a bunch of different weapons. I just took the triple shot. And now I get another upgrade point, so I'm going to pick a shield effect. And these are all really interesting, don't get me wrong. This part of the game is good. I just feel like lots of games have an interesting this part. The thing that is so interesting is that you have a compelling loop of wanting just one more upgrade point, looking forward to the next time your ship will get stronger, or when you'll be able to enable a certain combo of effects. It's got all that goodness, like that's great. This game does that well. Picking a body part now, and that's going to affect my hull and various passive effects that will modify the rest of my build. And then, yeah, you get into it and you get a bunch of different upgrade points that let you make interesting builds. But again, there's always that feeling of, as much as these run-based games let you make a build really quick, they are very good at that compared to some other types of games. I mean, there's so many, look at all those upgrades. Oh, like you just want to dig your hands in and, all right, hold on. Okay, so we're back to the beginning and you turn on draft mode. This just lets you pick 35 upgrades. You could just go nuts, just take everything, break the game in half like a twig, go crazy. Except it's still pretty brutal for a lot of reasons. Setting up a build before having to play it does make some greedy combinations work really well. Like you can set something up that, having certain of the modifiers you're going to use together isn't good until you have all of them. Maybe some of them disable your weapon, for example, in Nova Drift. But you don't have to worry about that in draft mode to some extent, because you can get a bunch of them. You can kind of set up the whole combo and not have to play it in its incomplete, vulnerable state. Another way to put this is that you don't need to pick modifiers in a particularly difficult order. You don't have to be careful about, oh, this isn't good yet because I don't have that part of the build set up. You can just take them all as long as you don't have a super greedy build. So that's one thing. That is powerful, definitely. So it has a different feeling. That's not better or worse than getting them one at a time, but it's got a different feeling. On the other hand, the difficulty is pretty high. I mean, maybe I'm just really bad at this game, but I think it's quite challenging. You'll see when this build comes out fully formed. It will be a monster, but at the same time, the game is hard. I mean, you need something powerful. I do think the difficulty tuning is okay at the moment. This game is still in ongoing development, but yeah, I'm loving this. Put this in every game, and I would die happy. I think it's interesting to compare the systems that cause a game to be interesting if you get upgrades one at a time, and how the game holds up if you just let the player go nuts and make some super over-engineered monstrosity, right? It can be a little difficult to conceptualize what your build even does on its way to completion. For example, this one I'm trying to overlap a bunch of shields, and they siphon enemy health, and they'll sustain the shield as well. So I got shield mods that also do damage when they get hit. The idea being that my little drones can just go out and tank a bunch of damage and self-sustain themselves a bit. And if they get hurt, big deal. If I happen to be in danger, I can call them back immediately. And it worked pretty well, but I only knew that those mods would come out as this build because I've played a lot of the game. That could be difficult to conceptualize. I still think this is really cool. I think if you really enjoy these session-based or arcade-style build-making experiences, this game is doing something wonderful with that and lets you, again, just go crazy making a huge build if you want. There's so many benefits. I'm not even going to get into all of them. Being able to just check if a concept works a little more easily before attempting it in, you could say normal run, but not the draft mode. I think that's really nice. That's one strength. Anyway, it's cool. I want both. By the way, game designers, I do want both. I don't want you to just make draft mode. I want a game that is good without this, but then it also has an interesting relationship to having, a draft mode. Anyway, I just think this game did that really well. Absolutely fantastic. Core Genshin Impact's build systems are pretty good too at times. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do. Simple parts, emergent complexity. Almost every character is really good if you have some imagination and don't read the subreddit. It's fine. I have some concerns about, for example, superconduct, the cryo-electro reaction, which reduces enemies' physical resistance in a game that, as you can see, is almost exclusively about elemental damage. But have you used superconduct in the trading card game? Ho ho ho. Here we are. Yeah. So they added a card game sub mode. It's not a different game. You do have to play Genshin Impact to get to this. It's the card game I'm talking about. Genshin Impact is cool. I have lots of good things to say about it and some bad things, but it's the card game's design that has really impressed me. It's kind of frustrating because I wish the rest of the game was designed like this or with this level of design knowledge. I don't know. It's cool. The key bindings on PC are a little awkward. You can play this on mobile, so it's fine. I just need to get used to them, I guess. But besides that, there's a lot of good stuff here. First of all, there's no option to pay or gamble to get the cards. You know, all of the cards are free. As a little aside, I want to mention that I think this game is viewed as a lost property most effectively. In other words, this is a game mode that is generous because Genshin Impact makes so much money. It's not that other card games are super greedy. Well, maybe they are, but and they're just evilly not using this particular monetization model. I don't think it would work for a lot of other games. It can work for Genshin Impact because this isn't the main game. The game already makes more money than the overlord above. And so yes, they can have you get all the cards for free. There's no option to pay for them. You just unlock them by playing matches, generally against NPCs. You can play PvP. There is match-made PvP as well. But yeah, lots of NPC fights. This one is against one of the hard mode NPCs. What's good about this game? A lot of stuff, I think. One of the interesting pieces of design is how they helped make sure that any random card is valuable. Something that happens a lot in card games is that you have this fun element where you're meant to adapt to whatever you draw, but the game doesn't give you enough of a failsafe for when, you know, statistically you will get a unhelpful combination of cards from time to time. In this game, because your 3 character cards have abilities, they always have those abilities, and you can use any random card to tune these dice to be the right element. Like you can see here, I'm re-rolling all of them. But even if I don't get the elements I need, I can use any random card to just get one of the element that I want. So you'll see here, my Oceanid died, and I have that talent card. There's really no need for me to not use that card to get another die of the element I'm looking for if I need it. And that means that, again, any random card has some additional value. Additionally, this game kind of downplays the value of card advantage a little bit. You draw 2 cards at the end of a turn. I always seem to like games that do that. And the reason why is that it creates a dynamic that means it's less about just grinding through your opponent. You're meant to get an advantage. You're meant to get ahead a little bit. There's lots of resources coming in. You can't win in a way with no fanfare most of the time because there's plenty of stuff coming in. If your opponent's deck does anything, they're going to be able to do it. You're not going to prevent them from doing anything. But you have the option to figure out a way to pull ahead. Or again, you can attrition people in this game, certainly, but with elemental bursts always ticking up as you use your abilities and attacks. Again, usually there is a lot of substance to the way you win, rather than just sort of cheesing someone, well, unless it's with some fabulously elaborate combo. Anyway, lots of good stuff to say. I enjoyed this game a lot this year. Having it just be in normal Genshin Impact is kind of weird. I feel I should mention you do actually have to play a lot of Genshin Impact to get to the card game. Maybe a discussion for another time would be, hey, I want to try this. How? You know, give me a guide to playing Genshin Impact just to play this. There's a lot of things I think are good about Genshin Impact, though. May I recommend swapping off the English dub? But yeah, being able to just buy all the cards in a trading card game is great, like really an incredible feeling. So I'm really looking forward to how they update this. We don't know that yet. As I'm recording this, we have had no updates yet to this, but we know from some data mining that they are coming. It's not like they're not adding anything else. It's going to be interesting to see what that kind of stuff is. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Happy New Year, you scallywags. Have a good one out there.